Today in the shop we worked on Joe Padula's Ducati fairing, an 888 Ducati collector bike, and we had a lot of other things going on at the same time here. We had to get our eyes checked, had to go to the vet, but ultimately we got the part prepped and ready, and we were fighting the weather, hoping we could beat the snow right to the last minute, so we could get the primer done today, but the weather won. Now today I get up this morning, I checked the weather, and it's 14 degrees in Rutherford. And now I know when it's 14 degrees, I've got a lot of work. I've got to chop the ice on the pond. I've got to make sure anything I have out here that I don't want to freeze, all my Windexes and everything I can get put away. But basically I'm going to put everything back down in the sun, everything. I don't want, those products, I don't like them to freeze. There's a couple of things of wax there even. But I had planned a day, I'm hoping to have a day to polish the GS engine. We had a great ride the other day. I enjoyed it. That was on my bucket list. The bucket list just got turned over. The bucket list is now, what can I do in the cellar? So I do have some projects in the cellar today, and this will make the decision very easy. 14 degrees makes it very easy. There is no riding, not unless you're an Eskimo on a snowmobile. So one of the things on my bucket list, it's down near the bottom, but it's coming up. Sooner or later we're going to have time for it. As this winter starts to set in, and we basically would prefer being in the cellar to being out in the garage. I have a spare set of wheels on the West Cooley bike. I wanted to make a set of black wheels. And of course I have a set of stock wheels that when I invested in having this parts bike here for, well, one of the things I thought of is how nice to have a set of spare wheels. Now it's always nice as I'm coming up on a tire change to be able to paint the wheels, get some new curvy girls, and at the end of it have a gold set of wheels and a black set of wheels, just to make it an evil, evil twin. And when I did the black wheels on the FZR, I thought, wow, I really liked making wheels black and putting that little pinstripe in them. I think if I have a red pinstripe, tentatively, that if it matches the color here, and we'll be able to match that very easily, and having a set of black wheels to go against that tan color, well, I think that's going to just make it even more of an evil twin. And since I'm not flipping any of these bikes, having the parts necessary to do this usually means you just go buy a spare bike. Even this one has a bad crankshaft, but it doesn't matter because I've used so many parts off it. It's been a great investment. And I'm not sure, see, here's the thing I'm not really sure of. I'm not sure before the summer comes we're going to put all the West Cooley parts back on this bike, just to confuse Luciano. So I have my spare wheels for the 750, and that's worked out great. In fact, I still have to get a tire. I have the tire ready. I have to swap it, change that out, but that tire still has 1,000 miles on it, so before the summer actually gets here we'll do that. But I'm already thinking about how do I want to do these wheels, and I think what's going to happen, I think what's going to start looking more and more like what I want to do is to have a high gloss shiny black set of wheels with that very thin 1/8 inch red pinstripe. I think that'll just look just factory enough and just custom enough. And just last night I was on YouTube and I just popped in West Cooley, and up came the videos of this bike, and it got me thinking, boy, did I enjoy that 2 or 3 years we had this as a West Cooley bike. And with all the custom decaling and everything that John Pothia did, wow, this was a great project. And that's one of the things, if you have old bikes, having spare old bikes, even if they're not runners or you don't have titles for them, boy, does that pay dividend. As Luciano says, you just go over to the spare bike, it's like a Christmas tree, and take ornaments off. Maybe he's right. And this is what happens when it's in the teens. As soon as it's in the teens, I got solid ice to chop out here. And my bubblers are working so far, but at some point in time it gets colder and colder. It gets below about 10. I really have to chop away. Looks like I'll have a very little, well, I always say that, and I start chopping, it takes a half an hour. Anyway, you see, this is why I try to keep the leaves out of the water. It just makes a mess. And when that ice melts, all that stuff sinks to the bottom. just a lot of work having a pond, no doubt about it. So we're looking at this tire on the GS. Yeah, maybe I ought to start thinking about getting those wheels painted, because I'd hate to put the new tire on this and then have to, well, I think you can figure it out. That'll be nice. You know, if you can hear the wind noise on this camera, I'm wondering if they make a wind slayer, maybe Steve knows, for a Canon. That, I don't know. It's blue skies, but boy is it cold. Snowmobile time. So getting out of that cold is so important in the morning. And that's another project we have. We have yet, Rick is still not able to break away from his routine. And we have, this is going to be an indoor project. Maybe we'll get to do this today. I don't know until after I have breakfast with Karen and she lays out the schedule. As we have, right now, we have a lot of stuff to do all in one day. And there's no better way to start off a day when it's freezing cold outside. Get that cup of coffee cooking, baby. Now I'm waiting to get a final plan for today from Karen. We have to get our eye test today. We're about a year overdue for an eye test. But I thought these cameras have the microphone on the end, and I thought I would give this a try, because I remember many times shooting video of the motorcycle during a ride and you could hear the wind noise. It was horrible. And I wonder if they make a wind slayer. Now this doesn't fit the camera, of course. I wonder if they make a wind slayer, a real one from Canon, for this. But this will be an interesting test. Only going to take me 2 minutes to shoot this video, so I'll find out. Now there may not be enough wind here to make this a valid test, but I'm going to try to point the camera right into the wind. Same thing with the wind slayer covering the mic. Yeah, there's really not enough wind. I got to get out here when it's a lot windier. And Steve had another idea worth trying. We're already out here and it's freezing. To put it in front of a fan, and I just happen to have a fan. I'm not sure about this in front of the fan thing, but we'll find out. This is without the wind slayer covering the mic. Now I got the wind slayer totally covering the mic, sealed the mic. Not sure. Well, you know, this is the way you learn, one way or another. And if you don't learn anything, it really didn't cost a penny. But I can't wait to look at this on a. See what happens. These sounds change when you have high def speakers like I have on the monitor I use for editing, and they sound worse actually. I don't even know how this sounds on a phone. Really as fast as the fan can go, with nothing over the mic. And this is with the wind slayer totally covering the mic. Alright, so at the end of this, I'm not sure what we'll learn, but we have a busy schedule according to Karen, so enough with the testing for today. Now, one test I won't have time to do today. I have to make up a little handle like a selfie stick for the camera, and I want to hold it out the window of the car, about a foot from the window, and then gradually bring it into the car and see how close or how far away that wind is disturbed off the side of a car. That's all for our future projects. In the meantime, Karen has set the tone for a very busy day here, so I got to get started. Now I mentioned this, but I never showed it. I've got 10 of those LED bulbs in the shop right now, and boy, they have really made it a lot brighter, and they use supposedly a lot less electricity, and they last forever. It's kind of a good situation. But again, it's going to be a busy day. I got to get started. Now before I head out to the eye doctor, I've got enough time to do this, and it's been annoying to me. Every time you buy one of these, all my tools, they have like a 4-foot or a 6-foot cord, and what happens, you plug an extension cord, and this thing is always rubbing on the gas tank of a bike or doing something that you don't want. So I want to make an attachment to an ordinary extension cord, but I don't want to have a big glob out here, and I've done this in the past and it's worked great. So, but everybody knows, And anybody that knows me well knows I hate electrical work. So doing this, I've got to like suck it up and take care of business. But I've got the really nice little Harbor Freight tool that John Pothier suggested I get. And I've used it 2 or 3 times already with really good results. And I thought I'd share this little thing, because this is really one of the things that makes me crazy, is that, boy, this is tenacious. Anyway, what I wanted to do is just show this little trick. It works easy. It's very easy to do. Probably 5-10 minutes. And I won't have to deal with the usual suspects that I have to deal with. That big lump of an extension cord. And I'm amazed when I take this drill apart how thin this wire is. Wow. Anyway, I've got the little pieces on there. And this is really not high tech or anything. But the first thing, I want to get these in here. And this is the tool, the Harbor Freight tool. And crimping that up, instead of trying to do it like I used to do it with pliers, boy, does that make a nice end on that. Sometimes you get these and they come in a box and they're color coded, but you use up all the ones one size to begin with. But you can buy a box of the size that you're prone to use the most. Now, I wanted to show this because, again, anybody knows I do not enjoy electrical work at all. I would much rather paint or do plumbing. Okay, so that end is on, and it already has a piece of heat shrink tubing on there. This is funny. I laid out all my extension cords on the floor because what I want to do is the longest ones I want to use on the vacuum cleaner. The shorter ones I want to use on the drills and the Dremel tools and stuff. And I'm just going to use up the ones I have in stock here right now. But this is an easy thing to do. It's about 10 minutes a tool. And boy, see, this is how I hang the tools up. And every one of them, look, there's such a mess of extension cords everywhere. I'm hoping when I'm all done here, this will be a little bit of an upgrade. So the next step on this is really industrial quality heat shrink tubing, all different sizes. Comes in 1 pack from Harbor Freight. Not expensive at all. In this case, we want to use 1/2 inch. And pretty much everything here comes from Harbor Freight. So, and again, this is not my favorite thing to do, but I have a little bit of time here, and I like to use little gaps of time to do these little upgrades. And I think this is something, once you do it, you'll be really glad you did it. So the first thing to do is with this heat shrink tubing, cut a piece, I don't know, 6-8 inches long. It's not critical. I want to have enough of it that it goes over and onto the cord. I also want to make sure, now I try to use this is a kind of a self-explanatory thing, self-obvious or whatever you want to call it. Self-obvious, not a word. But you want it to go over that in a reasonable way that it's still a tight fit. I don't want to use 3/4 inch and it'll be like, you know, like putting socks on that are too big. But I want to get that over there first. That's the first step. And once I get that over, now I can cut the extension cord, do the same thing, crimp these 2 ends, heat shrink this, and then heat shrink the big one. And once you get rid of the end that you don't use, this is usually, from this point on, relatively easy. And this will make a nice upgrade for me. This is really, these are the kind of things, when I do them, I'm not so sure, oh yeah, it took me 10 minutes to do that. Then 5 years later, when I've saved hour after hour after hour, then I wonder, why didn't I do that so many years ago? But this goes quick, and I'll use up all my extension cords that I already have in-house here, and this is pretty obvious. You want to get that pressed in there as good as possible. None of this is real rocket science. And this tool that John Pothier recommended works absolutely perfectly. They make a cheap one and they make an expensive one. This is the good one. It's 15 bucks, and boy does it work well. And what that does, that makes a really, really nice, tight, you can't pull that apart. Now, before I do anything, I want to heat shrink those. These little guys, shrink this first. That holds the wire on. Once these are shrunken up, then we'll pull that big sleeve over and shrink that. And I've done some of the tools in the shop. I gotta buy some more extension cords because having those plugs around is so annoying. And I'm always afraid when I'm working on a motorcycle, it's gonna scratch something. They're always catching on things. This is so nice of a thing. Once you do this once, any tool, even a Dremel tool, you say, wow, the first thing you say is, why didn't I do that years ago? It's such an easy thing to do also. Now, to pull that sleeve up, and I've got it right in the middle now, make sure I don't have it off. But this is a key part of it. Okay. Right about there. And the same thing. Heat gun that shrink tubing. And all the stuff that I've gotten from here from Harbor Freight has just been fine. And this makes, I'm sure, a way better joint than if you use electrical tape and you make a well, things I've done in the past with electrical tape, they look like Frankenstein when they're done. This has a nice professional look when you're finished. And here in detail, the things you get. I got these in a separate pack, but I also bought a package of these. This is from Harbor Freight, $15. This was $5 or $6, I don't remember, but it works well. It's got the little teeth, the heat shrink tubing, and I have 5 different sizes. That'll cover me for everything. And this is the reason I've done this, to have that, the cord is now the length that I need to do the work that I need, and not have that big bulbous, usually got some rough edges on it. So that is a nice little upgrade, and I hope that's a tip you can put in the bank. And it's even nicer and neater with storing a drill like that you don't have that the plug there. And I really think that's one of the modifications that's worth taking 10 minutes to do. And as time is available in the future, I'm going to try to do all of my tools. I'm just going to bite the bullet here and try to take care of that before I damage anything or have the inconvenience of those big plugs.
He has to go.
Oh, buddy, it's time to go to the vet. I know you don't want to go. You want to go to a party, not the vet. Ow! Ow!
Beautiful.
Is that a boy and his puppy? Oh my
beautiful.
God. Oh my God, he's so cute.
Oh, hi, sweetheart.
He likes you, Granny.
He likes new people that he's not used to yet.
He likes everybody, I think.
Feel well.
Oh, too bad he's got to go to the vet. But that's life, kid.
Hey, puppy, do you want to go? I mean, buddy, do you want to go to the vet?
You got to go to the eye doctor and to the vet.
He looked at me like this. He was like.
Come on, buddy. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Time to go.
Okay, you take the green bag and put that plastic.
Puppy chaos. You got your belt on?
Yeah, 1 second.
Wait, you got me.
You gotta hold him.
It's Puppy Cap. You. I've been kissed by a dog.
Totally different thing.
Razor teeth. Razor teeth.
That's interesting because there probably aren't many words.
Razor teeth. Razor teeth. Caution, dog with razor teeth. Going to the vet with razor teeth. So my eyeglass visit turned out I don't need different glasses. That's the first time in 20 years I don't need. I guess my eyes have bottomed out. They're so bad. I don't need more glasses. So finally, this eclectic day is playing out, and we're going to get some time to work on Joe's fairing. Just to back up a little bit, all our carbon fiber reinforcements have been drying a couple of days up by a heating vent. That West System resin will now be very, very solid and rock hard, and we'll be able to start grinding away at the other side. And this was removing this piece of rubber on the first day. If you only knew what a mess that was and what a job. Oh my God, labor intensive is not the right word. Now I expect to hear from Rip in the next couple of days. We've been going back and forth with email, and he needs to break away from his obligations and pick up his part. I'm sure he'll be happy, but I'm ready to start working on this right now. I've had my coffee, fed the birds, played with the puppy, gone to the vet, got my eyes checked. Holy mackerel, what a day. All right, so the first thing today is I want to trim away some of this, and some of this overage will come right off. And another key part of working with this material is to get all of the edges round. You don't want to have, I don't want to have any Any sharp edges, anything carbon fiber becomes a razor blade. So now it's like having a pet alligator that's also a porcupine, and he's mean like Buddy. Buddy did very well at his first visit to the vet. I was very impressed. But now what I'm trying to do is radius this off. I'm down into the gel coat already. See, right up here, there's a razor blade. Wow. If you catch that with a fingernail. So all of this has to be nice and smooth before we go on to the next step. Anywhere there's an edge, I'm looking for a smooth radius. I don't want to have these little pieces coming up. If you catch a finger on that, even when you're assembling the bike, it's like trying to assemble something with a razor blade. So I'm going to go over this whole area with sandpaper, even though it's probably overkill within overkill. I don't really care because I'm the one that's going to be working on this, and I don't want to have a quick trip to the emergency ward. Now the next decision I have to make on this is really a critical one. I need to figure out what method I'm going to use to remove the paint. Now I did a little test on the back here. I just did with a sanding block, and it looks like the paint, on the back anyway, the paint comes right off, but I don't know, first of all, I don't know how old this paint is, what kind of paint is, and it looks like the paint that's on the back anyway, it's really not that thick anyway, but I'm hoping maybe I can use paint remover to get some of it off. But if I use paint remover, I have to seal this bodywork first. I don't want paint remover getting down into my little cracks where the bodywork is cracked. You know, I'm going to just try to sand this relatively smooth, but see the cracks that are still here, what I want to do is sand this flat, seal it with thin CA from this side, because I know I have a bottom on this and I have reinforcement, so this is nice and solid now. But if I let paint remover get down in there, once I cover this with paint, somewhere in the future there's going to be a bubble. So my next objective here is to get this part of it, right up to even including this part, get this just sanded to the point where I hope I can seal it then with thin CA, because the cracks are such, they're up here, they're down here. But now, and I always say this, and I always try to emphasize this, you do the structural part first. You never do the cosmetic first, you do the structural first. Once that's dry, and I let it dry a couple extra days by the heating vent, then you can grind away at this in confidence, and even if you go through, you can seal it with thin CA. But it's a good thing to always keep in mind, structural first, so you can do that to the part. And then especially something where we're going to have several repairs in one little area here. Well, the downside of sanding this inside the house is you have this dust that I have to constantly vacuum up. The other side is if I use paint remover on this, you know, it's going to be a mess either way. Either way, this is not going to be easy, but little by little, and I'm grinding down into the gel coat, but this has to be perfectly flat because I want to absolutely minimize or not use any Bondo at all. Bondo is the problem, and I'd like to get that. Now the final part of this is that I'm using 180 grit on a hard block. A lot of this is just going to be hand labor, and it's going to be time consuming, but that's really the right way to do this when you have a collected part and it's got a high value, and you have a client that's very fussy. It's the worst of all worlds. This is definitely messy work. Now what I do with these towels, as soon as I'm done with one, right into the laundry. But the idea is not to breathe any more than this than you have to. And obviously you can't wear a mask and shoot video. Well, between a rock and a hard place. Okay, now we have one low spot here. Now I'm going to try to fill this in with thin CA, sand it, fill it in, sand it several times, because this is a cosmetic crack. This it's a scratch really. I'm going to be able to fix that. This I'm going to seal. But all of this, I want to get the whole thing that's flat white gel coat before I put any primer on it. I may not even get this done today. Because this kind of work, it just takes a lot of time, and boy is it ever dirty, as you can see. This is just, I wish it was summer and I could do this outside, but I want to ride in the summer. And the idea here is any spot that you want to seal, Brodak Thin CA, you want to coat it, and then wipe it right down. And the dust in the paper towel and the dust that's still on there, that helps kick it off. And in the end, the final little bit I've got to do with a hard block. It's a wood block and by hand to try to get this as flat as possible. And I'll go back over that with the Thin CA several times until I can rub my hand over this and it's relatively flat. Now there's still some gouges in there. I may have to use some Bondo, but I'm trying to minimize it. That's like, now as I'm sanding this out, it took about 20 applications of Thin CA and then a hard block to get this, that if I close my eyes, I cannot feel that crack. And I always think the ultimate bodywork is when there's no Bondo. That stacks the deck. Now see, we have a lot of carbon fiber in the back, so it's not going to be flexible. And we're not worried about adding 6 ounces of weight or anything like you would on a model plane. But now that I've got this block sanded, this one piece and the radius, that we're in pretty much roughed out. I call it roughed out. And that really was labor intensive to get rid of. That was the biggest of the cracks. And you cannot feel that at all. That is, even though if you close your eyes, and of course this is a John Parthia trick with the rubber gloves, rub your finger over that. It's for all purposes. That we're done there. Now I've got to clean out in here, even though you're not going to see that. I want to clean that up. And this is the next one I want to attack. Now see, this is a crack that goes up here. I don't know how far it goes up, but again, I'm going to seal it all with Thin CA before I start taking the paint away. And I've got to fill that in. And then I've got to maintain this radius along the whole part. I can't have it that it has a divot in it. I try to break this down into several areas. Now here's one I've got to grind through this and into the gel coat. Do the same thing with the Thin CA, and I'm looking all over. Here's just some stuff we have to, scratches we have to deal with. But now down here, this is all scratched and chewed up. I try to do this in pieces, like a checkerboard. This piece is now ready for primer. This piece, I'll try to get up to maybe the decal and try to get some of the decal off. I don't know. It's starting to look like this is more than a one-day project, that's for sure. But all this stuff is just labor. Is what the good news is. It's not like this is costing you a lot of money, even though paint supplies have gone through the roof recently. But still, the overall cost of the material is a lot less than if you went to buy this part, and you can't even buy it. So it makes it an easy decision. Anyway, we're going to keep grinding away at this as long as we have time today. Now I'll have to do in here by hand. Can't get the machine in there. I've got this was a couple of big divots that were missing. We've got rid of them. We got rid of them. And again, I'm trying to do this in pieces. I did this one piece, this one piece. Took a nice coffee break. I just ran the sander up here to see if it would get rid of the decal relatively easily. Well, I don't have a choice because, believe me, the last resort on this is paint remover. I really don't want to use paint remover if I can, because this leaves me a prepped scratch surface. Paint remover leaves me a mess. So my first choice would be, and I can see how the decals, they are coated with clear, and you can see how they do disappear a little bit. But if I can get, now my next goal is going to be to get that sanded off in one piece. And as I'm doing this, it just, like a lot of things, it just turns out to be a lot more labor than I originally thought, but it'll go. Now I thought I'd mention something. I wanted to show this on the video. You can get these sanding pieces in various grits, and they're all good. But here's a trick that I found. You see how I put it on crooked? Because in essence, you're really only sanding off the front little piece of this most of the time. So if you take that piece and put it here, wear it out, put it here, wear it out, and there, you could just save a little of the expense of sandpaper. But in the end, I always save the old pieces of sandpaper because there's always something I need to do with this. Now, an example is, here's some old sanding drums, and I need to get in there. There's places I can't get, and there's going to be some places in here I'm going to have to do by hand. So always having some new sandpaper, some used sandpaper, and little by little, it's just a question of patience to get it done. Now this decal is fighting me tooth and nail because they actually did put quite a bit of clear on top of it, but right now underneath is no problem. And this is funny, they primed this with pink primer, so I really don't need to take every drop of red paint off, but I do need to get this perfectly smooth. Once I get this part done, the top part I just need to etch, and this will be ready for primer. But getting this decal off, I think we need another coffee break, to be honest. Now, unfortunately, you don't really see how much labor it was to get that surface flat, get this surface flat, and I think we're really in good shape with that. I'm very impressed how nice that came out. This paint is very well bonded to the gel coat, so I'm not worried about going over that with primer. Up here, now I've got the really hard part done. This is relatively easy. I'm going to just run the sander over this and try to etch everything so it's all etched, and it'll be ready for primer. Now we're expecting snow today, this afternoon late, so if it doesn't come when they say it will, which I can sneak out there, I can even get the primer drying on this tonight. Boy, will that be nice. Now in the end, there's just a lot of little spots I have to do by hand, and a lot with a soft block, a lot with a hard block. I'd like it all to be etched. I'd like all the radiuses around the edges to be done, and we'll be ready for a coat of primer here, maybe within an hour. But I'll detail this part out as best I can because this is the foundation of the house. If there's a mistake in this now, or a flaw, now I've done this and it's an incredible thing to be able to do this kind of body work and not use Bondo is very difficult. But the result is you have parts that don't have Bondo that crack the first time you start the engine. When you just take and smear Bondo over things, even on old cars, the idea is to minimize the Bondo, maximize the CA, and of course, and we're going to detail the finish out on this, to the nines. And as soon as Joe gets the red paint, we'll see how that's going to match. It's getting to be an exciting project already. But at the same time I'm doing this, because there's going to be dry time, and I'll need to have the patience. What'll help me is I'm going to start the GS wheels. I already got the blocks, the cinder blocks. I can take the bike up off the wheels. And making that custom set of wheels for the GS, one of the things I've been waiting for. And nothing changes the look of a bike and makes it a custom your bike than a set of custom wheels. Now you probably already figured out that one of the biggest parts of this job is going to be the cleanup. I have to basically vacuum everything in the cellar, and there's so much dust from this. I'll just put a new furnace filter in. It just doesn't even pay. Otherwise this garbage gets all up to the house. But that, now as long as we don't get caught with some snow this afternoon, I'll get that. Wow, look at the dust from this. I'll get that. I got to prep saw it down now, and I got to put all these towels in the laundry. But you can't imagine how good I feel having that's the difficult part of the job. The painting part of it is kind of routine. This is coal mining. Last piece of this puzzle is using prep wool, clean this up as best we can. And I got to check the weather. This was a really productive day. I'm really happy about this, the way this played out. And I think we did the prep right. I'm very confident we will not have, and I have seen shortcuts in the past and done them myself, and I always come to regret that I didn't spend that extra couple hours right in the very beginning grinding away at it. I think we got this right. This is going to be fine. Now, I just got to go check the weather, and if it's not snowing, we can paint. We can put the primer on. Now, I didn't beat the snow today, and obviously the snow won, but we are prepped up and ready to prime the next time we get a work session. Now, sometime you win, sometime you're a gefilte fish. So because it's snowing, I wanted to come out here and just confirm in my mind what I wanted to do here. And we're gonna, the plan is in the next, well, some amount of time. Front tire doesn't need it as bad as the back tire. The back tire is, for all purposes, a couple of rides away from being, you know, tossed. So that's done with that. I wanted to make that special video about just polishing the engine. Well, that's on the back burner because I can do that while paint is drying. But one of the things I wanted to do, and this was always part of the project for the West Cooley bike, I have these wheels, which are perfect, and they need to be cleaned, of course. Get rid of that tire. Paint this one black with the little orange-red stripe. Then I can come over to this bike. See, I'm making a plan. This is what I'm trying to do anyway. And then replace the back wheel with a brand new tire and a new Curvy Girl valve and new grease in the wheel bearings. That'll take care of that. A lot of choices, but I love having custom wheels on the bike. Nothing changes the look of the bike. Like I said, a custom wheels. I have spare wheels for the 750 and I love changing them out. In fact, we still have. I got the black one on the front, the green one on the back. I'm ready to mount that tire, but not right now, that's for sure. And I love the look of an older bike with wheels that look like they belong from the factory, and yet Yamaha never made that. That's always my goal. So these parts are ready for primer, and I'm real happy about that. I'll just hang this up by a heating vent. What's going to happen is, and it's going to happen whether I like it or not, we're going to have to deal with whatever snow comes. Maybe it's going to be a little, maybe a lot, and who knows. We always have to deal with something here anyway. I have to spend some real time now vacuuming up, because when you do this amount of sanding, power sanding, and the furnace kicks on, it's all over the house. I will put a new furnace filter in. Usually it's the color of the paint when I do it. What am I going to do? But a whole lot better, I think, better than if we had done this with paint remover, and we would have a mess here. It'd be off the chart. Anyway, I want to thank the healthcare workers for, boy, keeping us safe. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you. And Joe, I'm doing the best I can on your part here. This is really a very high quality bodywork job. With the carbon fiber and with that sealed without Bondo, that's a very uncommon thing. And that should last, well, how old are we? We don't buy green bananas, that's for sure. But anyway, so with nothing else to do here, I'm going to go take yet another coffee break and see what Karen has planned, and maybe run over and see the puppy again. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. And because we made really good progress today, I feel comfortable about making some final plans for my next part of my Evil Twin GS project. Having the gold wheels and having a set of black wheels is going to allow me to have 4 different combinations: the blue with the black, the tan with the black, the blue with the gold, the tan with the gold. I'm going to have several combinations. It'll be a super Evil Twin. And since I've had the bike since it's brand new, it's a keeper to me, but that's not really fair to say, because they're all keepers to me. I love them all like my children. Anyway, we are going to start that project soon, maybe even tomorrow. I don't know. Time will tell, weather will tell, and Karen will tell. And actually tomorrow I have a visit to the cardiologist. That may change too. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you guys so much for watching.